Hi, welcome to Agile World Better English. Agile World was created by Sabrina Bruce and Carl Smith to focus on agility within a global community. We're, Steve and I, the newest addition to the Agile World family. Well, maybe not anymore because we have a Spanish, we have a French, and we're coming up with an Indian. It's very international and multilinguistic. I'm Cynthia Kahn, founder of GSD Mindset, which is an Agile consultancy, and my co-host, wherever you're sitting today, Steve Moubray and I are passionate about Agile. Through this podcast, we plan to share experiences of how others apply Agile principles to be successful, so you too can apply those principles too and be successful in your own life. So Steve, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and say hi?
Well, hi, I'm Steve Moubray, and welcome to Agile World. I am very excited to have Tremillia Williams on board with us because not only does she have this beautiful name that comes from the flowers, but also she's taken a twist on agility and Agile practices. And we know the Agile Manifesto was written 20 plus years ago by some brilliant minds for anything the last 20 years, especially in software. But they were software developers and product managers and brilliant minds. But now we've seen that agility and those same principles and thoughts are being applied to a variety of different things. And Tremillia has got some really exciting stuff to share. And Cynthia, I know you and Tremillia have known each other for a while. So would you like to introduce her?
Sure. This is Tremillia Williams, and we met, about a year ago, maybe. She applied because I had a call for bloggers on my website, and we got to talking, and she had this idea of Agile at Home, and she wrote a post, and I absolutely loved it. And then we got to talking, and now we're even friends on Facebook. So there you have it. And just so that you know, Tremillia is celebrating a birthday. Since these come relatively close to the actual recording time, I thought we'd bring that up. So Tremillia, tell us a little bit about your backstory and what happened to cause that, if I could say that aha moment of when you knew that you could wrangle your 3 kids and get everything going better by applying Agile at home.
Yeah, 3 kids and a husband.
But yeah, we got to wrangle that.
Somebody's got to keep him in line too.
Exactly. But yes, I'm Tremillia Williams. I'm the founder of Milu Unlimited. And I've worked in IT for 20 years. I was, kind of going back. I was like, when did I graduate? When did I start working? I was like, wow, it's been 20 years already. But I've worked all of those 20 years actually in IT, mostly in financial and staffing services. I started actually as a developer. I was a developer for 1 year and said, don't think this is for me. Let me try something else in IT. So then I transitioned into various business analyst, systems analyst roles. Now that I'm in this Agile space, I was like, I would have made an awesome product owner because I knew my products inside and out, my applications. But then I quickly, kind of fell in love with the project management world because I've always been one to kind of organize things, plan things. And so I was like, let me kind of see what's going on in the, project management world. And even as an analyst, there were times where I was doing like kind of work breakdown structures or kind of figuring out, okay, let's take a particular feature of an application and kind of figure out what that looks like and roll that out first to the customer and see what they think about that. So I was kind of doing Agile before I even knew I was doing Agile. And then the company that I was working for, they said, keep hearing about this thing called, Agile. Maybe we should try it. And so they asked a few project managers, would they be interested in being kind of the first Scrum Masters? And I quickly, raised my hand and said, pick me. And I fell in love with it like right away. And so I was a Scrum Master for a number of years, a release train engineer, And now I'm an enterprise agile coach. And so speaking of kind of that aha moment, you know, the pandemic happened, right? It was one day I was in the office, kids were at school, and all of a sudden we're all at home. And we're like, okay, so we're gonna have two working, parents at home, three kids that are gonna have a full virtual school day. How are we gonna get all of this done? And so because we were at home and, I had a lot of quiet times, even with the three kids, I was like, how is this going to work? And all of a sudden I was like, Agile at home. Like, I apply it daily at work. Why can't I do it at home? And so all of a sudden we're at the kitchen table and I'm like, it's time to get to work, right? So we need a family agreement, kind of like that team agreement. We need our family agreement. We need to figure out, everybody get your school schedules. We're gonna create kind of like it's a Kanban board, but I can't call it a Kanban board, right? But it's kind of like, we're gonna create these boards to help you track your assignments, what needs to be done. So what's your backlog? And then we're gonna make sure throughout the day that you're making progress and getting to done. And not only are we gonna put your schoolwork on there, we're also gonna put your chores. Yay for you.
There we go. Gonna have all the work in process.
Exactly. And we talked about, prioritization and how that needs to work, and just about, it's about being accountable, right? So they needed a way to make sure that their items were visible. They needed a way to be accountable to one another. And then we also needed that agreement so that if my husband and I were on a call, what are the proper ways of engagement, right? You're not going to just barge in here, Mommy, I need lunch. No, there's if I'm busy or if the door is closed, that means do not enter at this time. And I mean, I know that there's some families, due to the ages of the kids, there's going to be different agreements, right? But for me personally, that was kind of my aha moment that, it's not just IT, it's not just software. And I've been doing it all along, but just had never given it a name.
That's amazing. Now you just went through and covered a lot of topics. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask to break it down a little bit. So first you said, you fell in love with Agile when you started to become a Scrum Master. What was it that you loved about it so much?
I loved, I think, the self-organization. And I will say that I was very blessed to get the most awesome team starting off as a Scrum Master, because they were self-motivated. They wanted to, like, their commitment level was like, I can't even describe it. There were times where, we were like, okay, we're going to commit to, 50 points. And they were like, we want to do 100 points. And I'm like, wait a minute. But the thing is, I believe that they would have gotten those 100 points done. Okay. But I mean, everybody, just wanted to help one another. They were very passionate about the product, and they were very passionate about delivering value.
Awesome. So you fell in love with the teamwork concept, the self-motivation, the fact that people could pull together. They didn't need permission to go do this, right? They understood the direction and where they were going. So then you were sitting at home, and this is fascinating to me. You created a working agreement with family members, children.
With children.
How did you pull that off, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I got a lot of moans and groans. At first, like, really, do we have to do this? Aww. But, after a while, I will say they I think finally did understand the value of it. But I do think they enjoyed being a part of it, right? Because normally, right, it's kind of mom and dad or whoever the guardians are saying, these are the rules. You're going to follow my rules, right? Mm-hmm. But it kind of goes back to making sure that everyone is bought in, right? So if the kids are a part of making those rules, it goes back to the accountability part, right? So it's, let's sit around, let's talk about what it looks like for us, kind of get agreement, but then let's also talk about the consequences, right? So we're saying this is what we're going to do. Well, what happens when we don't do those things? And it's not necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing. It could be maybe the goals, right? Or the rules were unrealistic. So let's talk about what changes we want to make, right? So that they're a little bit more realistic. But it's amazing, right? And they change, right? Just even like within IT, right? You want to go back and take a look and say, do these still fit for us? So like now,
did you actually have retrospectives? Did you actually have retrospectives with your family?
Yes,
oh, that is so awesome.
We have daily stand-ups. So seriously, so in the mornings, that was really kind of our time that we would all be together at breakfast. So we would sit there at the kitchen island and talk about, okay, what are the plans for today? So like, do you have a quiz? Do you have a test? Is there anything blocking you, right? So is there something that you need from myself or from dad to be successful in your school day, right? So, I mean, now the kids they're going back to school in person. So our daily stand-ups are a little different, but still we find value in having that kind of family time first thing in the morning. And then we also use the time to do kind of like a daily prayer or devotional just to kind of get our day off on the right note.
That's beautiful. Now, when you were putting this agreement together and you started talking about consequences, what was it? Was it more like, all right, if you don't get this done, then you don't get ice cream? Or is it if you interrupt mommy and daddy, middle of the day in loud noises, then it breaks our concentration. We might be embarrassed in a meeting. We may not be able to finish. Or which type of consequences did you discuss there?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on exactly what it is, but I would say it was probably more of the latter because it was new for us, right? Working together in this type of environment, so it's you did this, and because you did this, this is kind of what could occur, right? But I think one of the advantages of being in this Agile at Home space, over the last year that the kids had an opportunity to see my husband and I work, right? They have the bring your child to work day type of thing, right? But now we're all at home and they had an opportunity to see kind of what it is we do and how we interact with our coworkers, on a day-to-day basis. And so they're like, oh, wow, we see that mommy's teaching a class today. So because she's teaching a class, we need to kind of keep quiet and kind of keep our distance. But they also know if it's an emergency, then of course don't wait, right? So I mean, there's a little bit of both, but it's making sure that they understand kind of the consequences, and then from there, try to make adjustments. But again, we're all human, they're kids. So at this point, I'm also kind of like, I expect something to happen, and it keeps the meetings kind of fun and interesting too, right?
But can't we say we're all humans? They're adults at work, they're professionals, and they're still going to have problems, right? So
oh yeah.
People are still going to forget the working agreement from time to time.
Oh yes, definitely.
So is this a document? Is it did you guys write it out? Is it on the wall? Is it?
Yes.
Okay,
So
cool.
It was an actual document. I actually bought, like the large Post-it sticky that you like use when you're in conference room. Like I actually had those, and we wrote it out. And then the kids also used the same type Post-it, and so they would have their plans and their goals on the walls in their rooms.
All right. Now we don't have a picture, right? We don't have a picture of this. And this, some people will watch the video, some people will listen to this. So describe to me, what does that board look like? What does that plan look like up on the wall? It's fascinating. Help people understand that.
Sure. So each child kind of designed their own. So there were some criteria, like you have to have goals. So, for my daughter, she was like, okay, I want to make AB honor roll. Or for my youngest son, we were talking about instruments earlier, right? So he wanted to learn how to play guitar. So it's kind of a mixture of kind of, school goals, personal goals. So there's a section for that. You can put it wherever you want to on your board, but there needs to be a section, for your goals. And then there's also, so this is more applicable for last year, but it was like the school schedule, right? So it's, okay, I have my science, my math, my English, and my social studies. And, have assignments. So it was kind of like, your sticky notes and your backlog for that. So then there was also like, the to do, doing, done, so that they could kind of self-manage getting those assignments, across the board. And then I'm trying to think, the goals, their plan. I mean, that was pretty much it. And then I let them be creative and color, draw, paint, whatever they wanted to do on it to make the board their own.
That was wonderful. That's starting to sound more like a canvas, like a lean canvas or a business canvas. What are your goals canvas?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So how do they use this thing? I mean, it's sitting there on the wall. What are they, how does the family use this?
So, start of the day. And again, kind of going back to kind of the self-management piece. So, when the kids transitioned home, I think only my oldest son had a desk in his room. So, we had to, get them all set up with their workspaces, and kind of going back to that agreement, right, of making sure the kids had what they need to be able to kind of self-manage. So the desk, all their school supplies, everything. So it's the beginning of the day. They all now have an Alexa. So they would set alarms, right? So they would have different Zooms right throughout the day. And, initially it was me running back and forth in the hallway. Are you on this call? Are you that? Why are you upstairs? You're not supposed to be upstairs. And it was too much, right? So they started setting alarms for their classes. And so, they had their boards in their room. They're like, all right, it's 9:10. Now it's time for science. And then they would already have their information there also around, this is the exact Zoom link. Here's my passcode, because that was a little chaotic at first as well. But then it was just kind of, now I'm done with that class. Let me go to my board. Now I can move it from to do to, doing, because maybe I still have some homework that I need to do, right? But then, and actually one thing I did forget, I did add, I think, an extra column for my youngest to check his work. So before he could move it to done, let me at least take a look. And, because, sometimes kids will say, I'm done, I'm finished, and you're really not. So kind of going to our definition of done, right? Let's talk about what done is before moving it to that final column.
It's so funny. You keep saying kids, but we can just say people, professionals, experts. Sometimes we all do that.
Yes.
Well, Tremillia, it sounds like your kids and your family received a lot of the benefits, but actually I can see or hear that they received even more of the benefits of practicing with an agile mentality from the experience. Can you talk about like some of the benefits, the way that you see that your children have actually become more self-organizing, become more responsible at getting ready for pre-adulthood or teenage years or whatever? Give us a little bit of a hint on why practicing Agile at home is actually amazing.
Yeah. So now that the kids are back to in person, at first I was kind of like, of course, Agile at home is going to change for us, but I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to change. And they've only been in school for 3 days. And honestly, these 3 days, I purposely have not said anything about like Agile at home, because I just wanted to kind of see what things from last school year would kind of roll into this year, kind of just seamlessly, right? But just because it's become kind of natural. And so even when it comes to preparing for the school day, right? So they already know kind of, I need to prepare my lunch. I need to pick out my clothes. And I'll hear them talking to each other saying, remember, these are the things you need to do, right? So it's not me and dad having to remind them. They're saying, these are the things that we need to do to prepare for the school day. And then in the mornings, it's kind of a similar thing. It's kind of like, I hear my daughter, and sometimes I have to remind her she's not the mom, but I'll hear her say, did you get your socks? Mom and dad are going to say, do you have your socks? or did you make your bed? And, we're supposed to make our beds before, we leave, for school. But it's just even setting the alarms, right? Like I don't have to remind them. It's just little things that I'm like, oh, wow. One, the kids are growing up. They are becoming more independent. And they are becoming more self-organized, but more so in a natural sense. It's not me necessarily saying, do you realize these are the things that you were doing? And one way that I definitely know that Agile at Home has been successful for us is because my husband also was kind of do we really have to do this Agile at Home thing, right? But once we started doing it, I would hear him talking to, different friends, and he's like, yeah, Tremillia has the kids and us, doing this Agile at Home thing, but it's really working. And I'm like, what was that? Say that again.
Yay.
Yeah, but it's been amazing. And I mean, I know I'm describing kind of my experience, but even just talking to others who, they may not, be in a relationship, or they may not have children. There's still so many ways to apply, Agile concepts to your life. So even I know someone who is like wants to use Agile at Home for like their small, in-home business, or for planning a vacation. And so it's useful, right? In so many areas of life.
Yep. Our Agile World founder, Sabrina Bruce, showed us when we did a conference together at the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. She has pictures of all of these Kanban boards when she planned her wedding. And so I think it keeps you from becoming, because it keeps you focused on what you want to accomplish and what's important. And you don't have to constantly like be worrying. It's very visual. I helped somebody graduate from college with a very, very similar thing. And she actually took, the little yellow sticky notes. I guess you can't really see them on here, but she took she had the sticky notes for her classes and goals, and she put them on her window. So when she opened her, when she opened her eyes and woke up in the morning, she could take a deep breath and relax, because she sort of knew what was important. She didn't have that feeling of stress and overwhelm. So I 100% agree with you. And that's why I love you so much, that Agile at Home is absolutely for everybody.
Yeah.
There we go. So,
because you mentioned it, like, I guess she was using it almost kind of like a vision board, right? So that's something that I create each year. It's kind of a vision board. So even kind of that team agreement also kind of evolved into a family vision board for us. So even when it comes to like vacations or just things that we want to, try as a family, or if it's, hey, every Friday night, let's have a movie night, or whatever it is, right? It's, let's put it up there, and then make sure that we're, revisiting it periodically to see if we're getting things done together as a family, as we had discussed.
And you are consulting now, right, to help people become Agile at Home if they're interested, not in addition to your day gig where you're still a enterprise Agile coach. I just want to make sure that people know that you are to reach out to you. So tell us how we can find you.
Yes. So you can go to my website, www.milu unlimited, and Milu is spelled MILU, unlimitedllc.com. Or you can also, I am on Instagram at milu.unlimited. So definitely feel free to reach out. You can send me a message, email me. Happy to help you. Everyone's Agile at Home journey is different. So I'd be happy to, chat with anyone and kind of figure out, kind of what your situation or circumstance is, and see how I can be of, help or service to you.
That's awesome. So what does Milu stand for?
Yes, LinkedIn too.
Sorry. I know that a lot of people are on LinkedIn. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Milu, what does Milu stand for, so people can remember Milu?
Yes. So the MI actually comes from the MI in my name, Tremillia. So the MI, but then my husband's name is Luther. So the LU comes from his name.
Oh, okay. So part of your name.
Yes.
MI from Tremillia.
Yeah.
And then LU from Luther.
Yes.
So Mylou, that's where it comes from. That's
Yes.
that makes it very easy to remember. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So this is beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I know because you are a busy mom and you have a family to take care of, you have a soccer game you have to get to.
I do. So it's, it's kind of Agile at home, take these off, and then, put on the tennis shoes and get to the soccer field.
Well, that is awesome. So we now know how to get in touch with you. So and you'll be happy if people reach out, right?
Yes.
That is awesome. So you're happy to share. And so we do want to let you get to the soccer games, get to your family. Cynthia, do you want to have anything to follow up? Where can they find this video and others?
Right. Where, as you may or may not know, we are on all the social media sites: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even Tumblr. This podcast is on Spotify, Apple, Google Pocket Casts, Anchor Breaker, and Radio Public. The video version is on our website, agile-world.news, and YouTube. So if you have any ideas for topics that you'd like us to discuss, if you want to be a guest on our show, you can reach out to us. Reach me at Cynthia at agile-world.news or Steve at agile-world.news. Steve, haven't I gotten better at that? We always used to trip over the agile-world.news. So thank you so much.
Well, Tremillia, thank you so much for this. I found it very motivational.
Yeah.
And it's such a great example of how agility, as soon as you start understanding the principles and the values behind it, can be applied to everything, including just how to go on vacation, how to get the kids to soccer practice,
right,
and how kids can use this just like adults for other things in their life. So thank you so much. This was absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And enjoy the soccer game today, and good luck. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.